people in this room have hired a new emergency manager in the last 2 years? How many people have switched jobs in the last 2 years? That's what I thought. There is a lot of movement going on in this field right now. In this post-pandemic world, some of us have been lucky enough to add a second position or another position to our organization. The most fortunate among us have been able to retire. But both of these two factors have combined to create an explosion of job opportunities in emergency management. I wish there had been this many job opportunities when I was looking for my first emergency management job 15 years ago. It is a candidate's market. Positions that were once seen as coveted long-term jobs that you held on to if you got are now just seen as mere stepping stones on the way to the next great opportunity. So let's say that you are one of the lucky ones and that your agency has added a second position, so you get to hire an admin analyst to support you. Yay! And then you see the budget for the position, and you know right away it's not going to be competitive in your area. You'll be lucky to find anyone with any relevant experience at all. So you're going to have to find another way to determine who is the right person to fill this position. So I have served on over a dozen recruitment panels over the last 3 years or so, and believe it or not, I learned a thing or two from those panels that I'm going to share with you today. So I have decided, after everything that I've seen on these panels, that we need to think a little bit more outside the box to find those people, especially in these situations where we can't rely on experience. There has to be another way. So the first thing that I did is I looked at the interview process. If there's one thing I know about emergency management, it's that it's constantly changing and evolving. So we need to find people that are willing to be receptive to new sources of information all around them. So when I went to select the questions for this interview panel, I selected a few questions that were a little bit outside of the box to get there. The first one was, tell me about a mistake you've made at work. What did you do to fix it, and what did you learn from it? Fascinating. There was really no polished answers for this type of question because it's simply something that people do not prepare for. But what it allowed was us to get at that human factor, to get away from just those one-dimensional experiences that candidates have already shared with you on your resumes and your cover letters. We wanted to know, what will this person be like to work with every day? What will they be like to work with on the really bad days? So another question that I used was, emergency management is always changing. Tell us about some sources of information that you use to learn how to develop into a better emergency manager. So things like professional organizations and conferences, magazines, do they read? Interesting question. And the third one that I put in that process was, tell us about something that you have learned from people who report to you. Not your mentors, but the people on your team. And I was not looking for the answer that I've learned what a great supervisor I am, although we did get that answer. So the second thing, after looking at that, it was just so eye-opening. One of the members of my committee said, it was like having candidates do a reference check on themselves during the interview process. These were questions that you really couldn't BS your way through. You learned who was honest, who was humble, who had emotional intelligence, and who had really given some thought to what they had learned and reflected on their mistakes. It was not just regurgitating their resume. So the second piece that we added to the interview or to the recruitment process was 2 practical components. And while I was looking for a manager in this recruitment, I think adding practical components works really well in situations where candidates don't have a lot of experience. You need to think, what skills do they need to come prepared with? What are some things that are not easy to teach? So in this recruitment, the first thing that we did was we asked them to come prepared with a 10-minute presentation as part of their interview, they were going to discuss some things in their background that made them qualified and highlight one example of a project that they were really proud of. And this revealed a number of really relevant skills: speaking, presentation design, the ability to follow instructions or not. The second practical component we added was a writing and analysis exercise. As much as I love writing, I'm not a writing teacher, and it's not something that I could really teach very easily. So it was something I needed them to come prepared and ready to do. Even if they hadn't had experience applying it to emergency management, that was a skill that we needed them to come ready with. And lastly, throughout the entire process, we looked for passion. Whose eyes lit up when they talked about emergency management? Who really showed pride in the work that they had done? When you see that, when you can feel a candidate glowing, you know you found someone with an essential quality that cannot be taught. So, in these difficult times of recruitment and retention, I challenge you to employ these techniques and look for the sparkle of those diamonds in the rough. In order to find the right people to carry the torch of emergency management forward to the next generation, we have to ask the right questions, see what they can do, and look for those qualities that cannot be taught. Thank you.